Geek Therapy Radio.
Welcome to Geek Therapy Radio. I'm your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger. Go to geektherapyradio.com for more information. You can always find the Geek Therapy Radio podcast, which is fresh 5 days a week in the iHeartRadio app or your favorite podcast player. Just search for Geek Therapy Radio. Look for the red, white, and black color scheme, and there you go. All right, my guest this week is my own nephew. Spencer, how you doing?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm great. I remember when you were just a wee lad and I posed for a picture. Maybe you've seen this picture where I put the giant electric guitar in front of you.
Yes, and I'm in the Tom Brady jersey. Yeah, I've seen that many times.
Yes. So I guess that's a good jumping off point. How are you into any musical instruments right now? I think you were playing guitar for a reason. What for a little while?
I am doing kind of on and off like bass right now.
Cool.
And I just like go to a website. I hear a song that I like, and I'll go to a website that has the tabs. It has like 500,000 tabs on it.
Right.
And then I just learn to play it.
Yeah. So did you start with the regular electric guitar or acoustic and then move to bass, or how did that kind of happen?
I mean, I've been playing air quotes guitar for pretty much my whole life.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I discovered this YouTube channel, this guy named Davey504.
Okay.
He's just like this really funny, sarcastic, dry person, and he got me into playing bass.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Have you recorded anything, maybe with your dad or anything like that, or played in any bands?
No, we don't really have. Like, we can record it on our phones, just put our phones next to the speaker, but we don't really have anything that could actually record the sound.
Right.
When's the mixer or anything.
Yeah. When's the last time you played bass?
I mean, I plink around on it, like, every other day, just to, keep my mind refreshed.
Right. So here's one thing I've learned. Here's one thing I've learned about playing an instrument is never be afraid to learn from anybody. Let's say you get really, really good. Let's say you stick with it and it's your thing. You're a geek about it and you get, pretty good at it. I always found out that playing with people that were just beginners, I learned more from playing, beginners, people who are beginners at the guitar than I learned from people who are really good at the guitar. I learned from both.
Right.
But it's kind of amazing. Because everybody learns a different way. You can learn from the beginners because they're learning it differently from you. So it's So do you try to play along with, what's the name of that YouTuber?
Davey504. He does some like tutorials. But mostly he just does. I don't even know how to explain it. You just have to watch it because it's. It's really
I'll check it out. Don't worry about it. So what's
definitely should. He's super funny.
Cool. So what's your favorite type of music right now, or do you have probably multiple?
I mean, funk, I guess. Because, like, Victor Wooten and great bass, and Flea.
Oh, my goodness.
Because, like, bass is like it's a funk instrument. Like, if bass is a solo, if you're doing bass as a solo instrument, it's pretty much always funk. And I just realized my bird might talk a lot.
That's fine. What's the bird's name?
His name's Pikachu.
Awesome. What kind of bird?
It's a budgie.
A budgie.
So I named Pikachu because he's what's called a fancy parakeet, and that basically just means he's all one color.
Yeah.
So I named Pikachu because he's all yellow.
So how often do you play Pokemon? Or
I got Sword and Shield.
Cool.
And I beat that, and then I collect the cards.
Yeah.
But especially because of quarantine, and I'm really terrible at the card game. I don't really play the card game.
Who can you play it with?
I play with my brother.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do, like, wager matches with our, like, more expensive cards and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, he's being, to no fault of his own, being 7, he's just not the most strategic, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I get it. Jets, he's young.
Fine. I mean, I don't blame him for it.
Right.
Because he's a child.
Yeah.
But, and then before quarantine, I'd play with my other friend, Nathan. But,
So, have you ever played any of the original Pokemons, like the first one for the Game Boy?
I'm trying to think.
Because if you haven't, then that means I'm going to need to buy an old Game Boy on eBay and send it to you with Pokemon in it.
I guess then that's the case, because I have not. I really want to play Pokemon Ruby because I heard that that's the best one.
Is that on Game Boy Advance?
And I think so.
There's a DS.
Like the SP.
Yeah.
But I remember, I think one of my favorite games of all time, I had it on the Wii. It was like Pokemon, like Pikachu's Great Adventure or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those spin-offs, like Pokemon Snap.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you played as Pikachu, and the entire goal was just to make friends with other Pokemon and then complete challenges. And it was so fantastic.
That's cool.
I know.
What game, outside of Pokemon, what game are you playing the most right now? You still playing Overwatch, or what's the deal with that?
I played Battlefront for a while, Battlefront 2.
Ooh.
I played the original one because I got it from like super random. I got it from GameStop for $5.
Cool, yeah.
Even though they said they didn't have it, which is a totally different story. But then I got I got like a coupon for the Xbox Live Store, and then I used that on top of a sale for Battlefront 2. And so I've been playing that. And then I recently just got into Forza 6.
Okay.
I've had that for a while, but yeah, that's a really fun game.
Are you a big Star Wars fan at all?
I mean, I literally just rewatched Solo this morning, so I guess you could say, yeah.
You're enough of a Star Wars fan to appreciate it.
I'm enough of a Star Wars fan to like get mad when other people don't agree with my opinion.
All right, stay tuned right here to Geek Therapy Radio. When we come back from the break, I'm going to make Spencer choose between Star Wars and Back to the Future. I know it's unfair, but that's coming up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. You've got your mental curator, Johnny Hamburger. My guest this week is Spencer, and I'm going to give him an impossible decision right now, an impossible choice. Star Wars or Back to the Future? Let's get right back to it. Okay, all right, so Star Wars versus Back to the Future, what's your favorite? It can be a tie,
Man.
Or you can say neither.
I don't want it to be a tie because, I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, they're very different.
Just going off of the movies, I would say I would have to like Star Wars more because it's more of a universe. It's more of a complete...
Right.
Except for like Back to the Future, which I love. Love Back to the Future. One of my favorites. 2 is the best, by the way.
I 100% agree. Fist bump through the radio.
Yeah. But I would just have to say, going off of the movies alone, with those, was it 11?
Right.
Not including the Clone Wars animated movie or the holiday special, because those are dead to all true Star Wars fans.
Did you watch the holiday special?
I watched about 5 minutes of the holiday special, and then I looked online for brain bleach.
Yeah.
Because it was the most terrible... Because, like, normally Star Wars is kind of like, it took the realities of our world and spacified them.
Oh, yeah.
But for the holiday special, it was, like, halfway. Like, half of the things were space.
Yeah.
And the other half were just... And it was... And then the Clone Wars animated movie is just a weird concoction of filler.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. There's nothing in that movie that supplies any sort of... you don't have to see it.
Right. It doesn't add to the universe, add to the canon.
It doesn't add to the story. It just takes the characters and has them do something.
Right. So
yeah.
A minute or two ago, you mentioned, did you say brain bleach? What is that?
Well, I mean, that was more of a joke, but like...
Yeah. Explain.
I wanted to get something out. I wanted to get something into my system that would push out the holiday special.
Right.
Bad.
I've just never heard.
Really bad.
I've never heard brain bleach. That's awesome. I'm going to start using that.
Mean, what?
I'm going to start using that. It's kind of like the saying "cannot unsee."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would think brain bleach after the holiday special of Star Wars. I think there's been plenty of people throughout the.
Oh, definitely.
But
going back to the Star Wars versus Back to the Future,
if
we're going off of everything, all the communities, all of the media, all of everything, I would probably have to say Back to the Future.
Okay.
Because for one reason.
Right.
And then a bunch of other little reasons, but the one reason is that it introduced or sort of reintroduced the world to the DeLorean.
Yeah.
And since the DeLorean is my self-declared spirit car.
Okay. Nice.
Like a spirit animal, but a car.
Right.
Because the story behind it is so fantastic.
Right.
If you have not heard it, I would say as soon as you're done with this podcast, go listen to there's a 3-part series called on this channel called Donut Podcasts.
Donut, yeah.
On either Spotify or YouTube.
Yeah.
And I would recommend listening to those because the story behind John DeLorean is it's like the truth is stranger than fiction.
Right.
It's so crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've heard some people make the argument, the DeLorean wouldn't be famous if it wasn't for Back to the Future. And I strongly disagree. I don't think it would be as famous, but it would still be would still be an incredibly important car.
Like a legend in the car community. Like, definitely not as many people would know about it, but it'd still be like
car people.
People would know about it.
Car people would know about it. I mean, John DeLorean. Do you remember what he did before he made the DeLorean motor car?
He worked for General Motors and he saved Pontiac by creating the GTO.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then he was like, I want to make my own car. But then he timed it as the worst possible because, like, the oil crisis and like air regulations.
Yeah, the EPA, the
terrible times.
Right. It was new back then, and it's good that we have some regulations. But the technology was very new when the DeLorean came out, so it made an engine that should have put out 200 horsepower. And
to go back to that though, just a little nitpick I have, and it's probably the only nitpick I have with that video is that you said that I forget the name of the exact car, but you said like that engine was in the all-time fastest for a car.
Yeah.
At Le Mans.
At Le Mans, yeah.
That is actually not true. The Bugatti Veyron Super Sport just like last year got to 304.77 miles an hour.
Right, but did it do it at Le Mans? That's all I was saying is specifically.
Oh, you were saying it was at Le Mans.
Right, not in general.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Right. Yeah. The Chiron. Yeah, you're right. It's 300 and a little bit over 300 miles an hour. That it's absolutely crazy. Le Mans, I don't follow car racing that,
Yeah, it just sounds bad. It's 24 hours going around like the same.
Yep.
3/4 of a mile track.
I think it's. I mean,
get the appeal for like a few hours, but then 24.
Right. It's longer than 3/4 of a mile. I forget exactly how long it is. I think it's something like 5 miles or 7 miles. But the interesting thing about Le Mans, I was going to say, is that after, I think it was 1989 or 1990, there's a famously long straightaway at Le Mans where the cars can get up to that 250 plus miles per hour. Right. But since I think 1989 or 1990, they're called chicanes. And what they are just kind of some tight corners, like at two points in the straightaway, so cars can't go that fast, because what would happen is the cars would go so fast that a lot of them would lift off the ground and fly up into the air, or not be able to stop at the other end and crash. So it became too dangerous. So they added, it's basically speed bumps. It's not bumps. It's kind of turns that the cars have to make and slow down for. It's crazy.
I know what you're talking about. In Forza, there's like a miniature version of the Le Mans, and that has caused me to lose many races because I'm going like 200 miles down. And I ignore the red line, and then I crash. Yeah.
What game are you playing? What are you racing the Le Mans with?
Yeah. There's, I think, 2 Le Mans.
Cirque du Soleil.
The Le Mans, like Bugatti track, like Bugatti made it, and then there's the Le Mans circuit, which is the one with the I would say like a fifth of the track. It's just a gigantic straightaway.
Have you ever in this game? What game is it?
It's Forza 6, and I know there's a newer one, Forza Motorsport 6.
Yeah.
I know there's a newer one, but based on the reviews, I like this one because you can customize the cars more.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I would assume that Forza has this track, and perhaps you can confirm the Nürburgring. Right.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I was playing Forza like an hour before you called, and that was the last track that I raced on, was the Nürburgring. In the third kind of like section, like how there's the campaign mode, there's the first generation of cars, then the second, third. I got to the third one in my Bugatti Veyron, and it took me 5 or 6 months to beat the Nürburgring in the rain because it was the worst.
Right.
Then I finally did it, and I was so happy.
All right, we're going to leave the conversation there for a moment, but you know what I wish I could finally do? I wish I could finally fix my daily driver. I mean, it's a great excuse to drive the DeLorean around as a daily driver, but I don't like putting that many miles on Lauren the DeLorean, so I wish I could finally fix my daily driver. Soon. Anyways, more Geek Therapy Radio coming up. I'm going to keep geeking out with my nephew Spencer. Look for the Geek Therapy Radio podcast in your favorite podcast app. Just search Geek Therapy Radio, look for the red, white, and black color scheme, and there you go. More Geek Therapy Radio coming up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. Talking with my nephew Spencer. What 13-year-old boy doesn't like cars? So let's all put ourselves back in that time of our lives, back when we had posters of Ferraris on the wall and Dodge Vipers and whatever we had from our youth. It's interesting to have the take of the modern youth, what the modern youth's favorite cars are. One will, I don't know if it's going to surprise you. It's my favorite car, obviously. But what are teenagers today yearning for? What do they think are cool cars now in the 2020s? It's a fascinating discussion. So we're going to get back to that discussion with Spencer. Real quick, if you want to add your 2 cents or make any questions or comments to me at all, what's your favorite car? What do you geek out about? What's your favorite hobby? GeekTherapyRadio.com. The contact form is the very first thing you see. I also have a little bit of merch. It's a link there on the Geek Therapy Radio website. I don't have a ton of merch right now due to the pandemic, but I got some. Anyways, let's talk cars with Spencer. So, other than the DeLorean... Well, beside the DeLorean's not fast. I was going to ask, what's your second favorite car?
You can make it fast, but you sacrifice a lot of other stuff. Right,
exactly. What's your favorite car other than the DeLorean, do you think?
Can it be only announced and not like in production?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would probably have to say the Tesla Cybertruck.
Yes.
For some of the exact reasons that I love the DeLorean.
Right. Stainless steel.
I like the DeLorean more because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
The only reason.
Well, it is. It is cheaper.
Right.
Maybe one day it will be equivalent. The Cybertruck, I don't think is going to appreciate in value.
Right.
But but it's cool. I want a Cybertruck. Maybe the Cybertruck. Maybe,
definitely.
Maybe the first generation Cybertruck will become a classic. Yeah. Classic cars right now. It's crazy what I should say modern classic cars. They're cars that came out 2 or 3 years ago that have gotten more valuable over the past 2 or 3 years, and I don't fully understand the reason why. You'd see them auctioned off at car auctions, and it says this car came out in 2017 and it's worth $20,000 more. Yeah, like the used GTI, not really the GTI. I know the GTI is appreciated a bit, but not quite that much. Right, for sure. Certain years of the GTI. One of my dream cars. Let's just say I was rich and I could just have a garage full of whatever I want. You're Jay Leno. Right, exactly. Exactly. I would want a first generation GTI. Does your dad still? Oh, definitely. Yeah. Does your dad still have the GTI? He does. He got an original. He got an automatic silver 27 GTI, and then he traded it in for a manual white one. Right. Which. It's beyond me why. He says that he likes being more in control. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Okay. Unless you want to drift or wheel spin, I don't see the appeal of a manual car. So how old are you right now, Spence? 15, 16? I am 13. Going to be 14 in 2 months. Right. So you're going to be driving pretty soon. Do you think you're going to want to... do you think you're going to want to learn to... you don't have to get a manual car, but do you think you'll learn how to drive manual? Oh, definitely. I definitely will learn how to drive a manual. If nothing else, just for if I'm going to ever borrow or rent a manual car. Right. I don't want to be in that situation. Exactly. It's a good thing to know. You're not the only person. Manual transmissions are... I mean, they're getting pretty rare these days. Everything's automatic. Yeah. Yes, automatic transmissions, modern automatic transmissions are faster. You can go 0 to 60 faster in an automatic. They've gotten so good. But there's still, there's still some of us out there who prefer to row our own boat, as they say. Yeah. And I don't think my next daily driver, the next whatever car I get, is probably going to be electric. Definitely. It's not going to be a manual transmission, but I'll always have the DeLorean. That's always going to be a manual transmission. I know. And I would say, if you're going to get an electric car, my recommendation, yes, I know this is going to make me sound like a huge nerd. I did the math, and the best electric car is either the Tesla Model Y Performance with the Performance Upgrade, or the BMW i3. What was some, bullet points of the criteria for how you came to that? I'll go get the sheet. I'll be right back. Okay. Where is it? So basically I had 4 criteria. It was 0 to 60, top speed, range, and price. Price, okay. And so basically, I put all 14, I think, Teslas in it. Okay. And then I mapped them out. I put all of their 0 to 60s, and then I see which one was the least amount. And then I would go through, and so the one in the number 1 position would get no points. 2, 1, 3, 2, so on and so forth. I did that for top speed, range, and price. And it ended up that the Roadster 2, will be the best Tesla, but it's $200,000. Yeah. So you gave it. Do you ever watch Doug DeMuro on YouTube? Do you know who he is? I do not. Okay. Well, he has. It's called the Doug Score, and it's kind of what you said reminds me of it, giving each kind of criteria a little score of, speed, price, comfort, da-da-da-da. And then at the end of each car review, he gives it a Doug score. Right. And Well, I intentionally chose things that weren't
that were like you had numbers instead of, because comfort is something like
right.
That depends from person to person.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So that's really cool. So those are your. So Tesla Cybertruck.
Those are my personal picks. I'm sure that there are better electric cars, like the Porsche Taycan. That's amazing.
There's others coming out. That's kind of my point here. Is you're at an age where by the time you get your driver's license and you go through your life of driving, you're going to have so much choice of electric cars,
I know.
And it's gonna be really, really cool for you. That I don't think. You learn manual transmission just so if you ever had to use an old car.
It's kind of like learning a second language.
Right.
From ever in another country.
And it becomes
really useful. And
it becomes muscle memory. It becomes second nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's one of those things that seems intimidating at first, and it is, because I learned how to drive a manual, and it was with my dad, and it was very scary. Because I was always worried, I'm going to break your car, you're going to get mad at me.
Yeah.
Nope. But it was, I'm really glad that I got to learn it. Now it's such muscle memory to me now that I have to be careful when I get into an automatic, because I'll put my left foot down.
Oh, yeah.
On the brake on accident. And so like when a manual, when you need to brake, you put down the clutch first and then you do the brake. So I'll kind of do both at the same time, and I'll put my left foot down on the brake and kind of jerk the car a little bit. And I got to remember, in an automatic, you only drive with one foot. You don't use 2 feet to drive an automatic car.
Right.
So it's kind of funny.
I've heard stories of people who drove manuals like all their lives, and then they got to be like 70, and then they got an automatic, and then they're going down the road, and they suddenly put the car in reverse because they're so used to changing gears, and just I don't know what the right word is. They hurt the car and themselves and other people.
Yeah. So in old cars, their reverse usually had a lockout, which meant that if you were moving forward at a certain speed, that you couldn't put it into reverse. But in really old cars, they don't have that lockout. So if you're not careful, you could put down the clutch and then put it into reverse. And then when you let off the clutch, the engine's going one way, and now you're telling the wheels to go the opposite way. And it's a tremendous amount of shearing force on the components.
Your gearbox, your brakes, your tires.
Yeah. You're
injure a few people going backwards.
Yep, but your dad's GTI, it won't happen. It won't ever happen in that car.
I know, because it's like a 2017 crazy, amazing. He says the best car he's ever had, which he went to a coffee shop a while back, and there was a guy in whatever the brand new BMW, the one that's like the fastest electric car or something.
Yeah.
A guy, he was like, man, if I could trade keys with you right now, I would. And he's driving a $250,000 car.
Yeah. More coming up with Spencer in a moment, but yeah, there's a reason why exotic car owners don't daily drive exotic cars. Sometimes you just want a practical, fun daily driver. And in my experience, having owned a GTI myself, I freaking love that thing as an all-around car. More Geek Therapy Radio coming up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I'm talking with my nephew, Spencer. In this segment, we're going to finish up talking about cars, this Tesla Cybertruck, and then we're going to move on to a little bit of gaming and a little bit of Star Trek. So let's just continue let's just continue the conversation with my ridiculously well-spoken nephew. I would say, honestly, in the cars I've driven over my life, like if I could only pick one car forever, and that includes DeLorean, that would include Lamborghini or Tesla or anything. If there was only one car that I had to have forever.
Like, you can't turn it in. There's no lease. You can't get a newer model.
Right. It's the rest of your life, and you have to use it for family. You have to use it for kids. You have to use it for groceries. You have to use it for city driving. You have to use it for any driving you do forever. It has to get you through whatever you're going to do forever. GTI.
I know what I would choose, but yeah, GTI.
It's here. Let me just tell you why. Before you tell me what you would choose, I'll tell you why I choose the GTI. It's because A, it's fuel efficient.
Yeah, definitely.
B, it for an ICE vehicle, for an internal combustion engine. B, it has lots of storage space, and the seats fold down, and you get tons and tons of storage room for a small.
You do, yeah.
Yep, for a small car. 3. What was I going to say? It's fast. What would your all-time, all-arounder, best all-around car be?
Probably a tri-motor Tesla Cybertruck.
Okay. So you have to tell me why now, because...
All right.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I did do the math on this. This is not...
Oh, this is scientific.
A bit of personal opinion.
It's scientific.
Also scientifically proven.
Right.
0 to 60s in 2.9 seconds. That's unheard of for a truck.
Yeah, and for most cars.
Top speed, for most cars, of 130 miles an hour. Again, unheard of for a truck and a lot of cars.
Right.
It has a range of 500 miles per full battery.
Wow.
That's crazy for any car.
Yeah.
And it starts at a pretty steep, but not ridiculous for the ability, $69,900.
Uh-huh.
And it has 5 seats if you don't want the center console in the front, and a bed.
And
where you can charge other Teslas, like ATVs. It has slots for boards.
Nice.
It's just the best all-around car.
Have you tried any cloud gaming as far as, like NVIDIA, GeForce Now and Stadia or anything like that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you're not missing anything right now.
But
you're not missing. It is very beta, even though it's public release, and Stadia is public and GeForce Now is public. The infrastructure.
Good things about though.
It's cool. The promise of the technology is really, really cool. It's just not there yet, and there are certain barriers in science and physics that we would have to find some sort of workaround, but but to my mind, I don't see what the workaround can be other than you put a server farm every 100 miles across the world to get that.
And then there's like the Elon Musk, the thing that he's trying to do where he's trying to put like Wi-Fi router satellites.
Starlink, yeah. Starlink that like give you, what is it, like 80 megabytes or something like that. It's a ridiculously fast. Right.
Wireless connection. Exactly.
It's really good, but the big rub with it is with the ping and latency. If you have a satellite way up in the space up there, it's a couple hundred miles above your head, if not a couple thousand miles. The speed of light is the speed of light, and radio transmission can only operate at near the speed of light. So while the speed of light is very, very fast, it's something like 186,000 miles per second.
Meters per second.
Whatever it is, it's very fast, but with enough distance, 1,000 miles, whatever, it's like there's still a little bit of that ping is still going to be a little high.
Then you go into like quantum physics and wormholes, how it's like technically possible you can send information. Like they're working on that with like credit cards, but then that's still at least 50 years away.
Quantum teleportation.
Right, like teleportation, because data is just zeros and ones.
Right.
And it's not physical matter. And so they're working on ways to literally teleport data over, with moving faster than the speed of light, because it's just going from one place to another instantly.
Right. That's a very fascinating part of science right now. It's always developing. That's some Star Trek stuff right there. Do you ever watch Star Trek?
I have seen.
You don't have to.
I know what it is, and I know sort of the culture that surrounds it. but I wouldn't say I would win like a trivia battle on it.
No, Star Trek. See, when I was your age, there was no Star Trek that appealed to me very much, because Star Trek, especially depending on what version of Star Trek you watch. So I would say most people's favorite would be, they call it TNG, The Next Generation, with Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, in Data and all that stuff. But that show is very, very cerebral. It's very, it deals in a lot of ethics questions. How do you interact with other species, and how, it's kind of introspective. It looks at
Star Wars is just plasma.
It's a Western.
And plasma guns.
Right. It's
a little bit of ethics, but not much.
Right. Exactly. Which is great. Star Wars is its own thing, and it's great in that regard. It's a very deep story, everything like that. But you're right. Star Trek is way less action and way more thinking, way more problem solving and such like that. It took me a little while to get into it. I would say that I appreciated it much more as an adult than my dad would watch it when I was your age, and I would just I'd have to leave. It was so boring to me. I couldn't.
Yeah, so Star Trek came before Star Wars, right?
Yes. Star Trek. The first Star Trek was a series in the 60s. My dad watched it when he was a kid, or a teenager or such. And then the next Star Trek series was in the late 80s. It started, and I think it was like 1988. The Next Generation went all the way until the mid 90s. Maybe not too long before you were born. Maybe 10 years before you were born was the last. But then there was Deep Space Nine, which I'm watching now, which goes all the way until... There's so many different Star Treks.
Dozens of movies.
There's tons. And they're really good. Some people... We'll start wrapping it up here, because, see, I told you it was going to be an easy conversation. There's so many movies, and a lot of Star Trekkies don't consider a lot of the movie stuff to be as good as the TV shows, or they sometimes they don't consider it to be part of the Star Trek universe, and blah blah blah, because the movies are way more action. The movies are way more explosions and action, and keeping you glued to the screen for an hour and a half, where the TV show could afford to be much more
like Doctor Who, a little bit.
Right. Exactly. A
little less time travel.
A little less time. Well, yes, there's time travel in Star Trek, but it's not based on time travel like Doctor Who. Oh man, Spence, we could talk. Let's do this again sometime. All right?
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to come back on.
Cool, Spencer. Tell everybody where they can find your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel is Shook Samurai, all one word, SHOOK, and then just Google Samurai if you don't know how to find it.
Yeah.
That's where I am, and then on Twitch, but don't expect me on there for like another 3 months, because I'm still working that out.
It's all good.
But yeah.
Shook Samurai, all one word, Shook Samurai on Twitch and YouTube. Round of applause for Spencer. He did an absolutely great job. So round of applause out there in radio and podcast land. Remember, to sign off here, remember, you are worthy of love. You are worthy of giving love. You are worthy of receiving love. And you are worthy of your own self-respect. Please remember that. Embrace your geek thing. Do something good for others. Share your geek thing with others. And I think we'll all get through this. Thank you so much for listening to Geek Therapy Radio. Visit geektherapyradio.com for more information. Have a great one.